All episodes of A Trial by Podcast are for informational and entertainment purposes only. Much to their parents' dismay, neither host is a lawyer, journalist, or investigator. Just two people with microphones and Wi-Fi. All actions discussed are alleged, and all parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. For the full legal mumbo-jumbo, check the show notes.
PMS, pregnancy, menopause. Being a woman is a lot. Ollie supports you and yours with expert solutions for every age and life stage. They just launched 2 new products exclusively at Walmart. Period Hero combats bloat, mood swings, and more during PMS. And Balance Perimeno to support hormonal balance, mood, and metabolism during perimenopause. Grab yours at ollie.com.
Ollie!
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
What if an appliance emergency didn't have to be? If your appliances need replacing fast, Best Buy has your favorite brands in stock and available now. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
Nurses, are you tired of spending weeks or even months finding the perfect job that matches your specialty with your ideal shift and salary? LinkedIn has improved your job search experience. Search by specialty, the shift you want to work, and the salary you want to make. Go to linkedin.com/nurses and begin searching today. That's linkedin.com/nurses.
Note, side effects may include less time finding the perfect job, working a shift that you love with a salary that can take you to St. Thomas, Jamaica, and continuous smiling because of how simple this process was.
I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Emily.
And this is A Trial by Podcast.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Yippee-ki-yay. Welcome.
A second wind.
Getting a second wind. We're recording our second episode today because we're constantly on the catch-up train and we never seem to reach a destination.
Hey, this is us catching up, though.
Yeah, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. And I've been writing 2 episodes a week, which is slowly killing me from the inside out. But I love it, you know? I love it, but it sucks sometimes. However, I am excited to tell you this story. It is a very, very sad story. It does involve the murder of a child, but I think it's an important one because it led to a lot of legislative changes. And I found it really interesting hearing like the history of that, so I think you guys will too.
Okay.
So I think we're going to just dive right into it today.
Let's get into it.
On the evening of October 22nd, 1989, 11-year-old Jacob Wetterling set out on his bike with his 10-year-old brother Trevor and his best friend Aaron Larson for a quick trip to the local convenience store in St. Joseph, Minnesota. It was a Sunday night and the boys had gone to rent a video and buy some candy, just enjoying a bit of independence in their small town. It was safe. That's the whole thing, is kids did this all the time. But as they pedaled home in the dark that night, a masked man armed with a handgun suddenly stepped out of a driveway and onto the rural road in front of them. Immediate chills hearing that. Like, a masked man steps out of the dark in front of 3 little boys. And it reminds me of like that first scene in Stranger Things.
It reminds me of It, the clown.
Scary. Yeah.
Scary.
Like in Stranger Things, you know, when Will's taken, like they're on their bikes and stuff. Mm-hmm. I wonder if like it was kind of inspired by this. I don't know. But that's what it reminds me of when I was reading it. And Aaron later recalled that at first, he almost thought it was prank. He's like, it must be a neighbor playing a Halloween trick because it was October 22nd. Halloween's right around the corner. Mm-hmm. But sadly, it became real very quickly. The stranger ordered the boys to turn off their flashlights, throw down their bikes, and lie face down in a ditch. He then demanded to know the boys' ages. Jacob answered him, saying, I am 11 years old. And just like in a small, like, 11-year-old voice, you know what I mean?
Like, I'm 11.
Yeah.
You know, like,
And scared. The man then told Trevor and Aaron to get up and run away without looking back, or else he would shoot them.
Oh my God.
And I read 2 different, like, some sources said that the man said, get up, run away, never look back, or I'll shoot you. And others said that get up, run away, never look back, or something very bad is going to happen. Ooh. Either way, terrifying for these little boys. So They do. They're terrified. The two young boys obeyed and they sprinted away in the darkness. And they're kind of just expecting this gunfire that never came. And they are just frantically like hoping to go get help for Jacob. But when they glanced back at one point, Jacob and the unknown gunman were gone. In the span of minutes on a quiet Minnesota road, half a mile from home, Jacob Wetterling had been abducted at gunpoint. And this was the last time that he was seen alive by anyone other than his captor. Now, before that night, Jacob Wetterling was living an ordinary, happy life as a sixth grader in rural Stearns County. He was the second child of Patty and Jerry Wetterling's 4 children, growing up with an older sister and 2 younger siblings, which of course included his little brother Trevor. The Wetterlings were a close-knit family. They were active in their community and in their church, and Jacob was known to make friends easily. He was well-liked by his classmates and his teachers, and he's often remembered for his bright smile and caring heart. A kid who, as his family later noted, quote, believed that people were good, end quote, and wanted to make the world a better place.
That makes me want to cry.
Yeah. And he's just, look up pictures. He's such a cute little boy. He's so cute. It's heartbreaking. Now, Jacob had a wide range of interests for an 11-year-old. He was super into sports, especially football, baseball, hockey, but he also loved to go fishing with his dad, Jerry. At school, he was known to be like creative in the arts. He was smart, he was imaginative, and he was occasionally prone to like procrastinating on his homework, his parents said, but like what 11-year-old isn't?
Yeah.
He had recently started playing the trombone in the school band, and apparently like he would always call it the bone. Like his trombone, he'd be like, I got to take my bone to school for band
I got bone practice.
Yeah, I got bone practice today, which I love.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And he talked about one day, like when he grows up, wanting to become a veterinarian because he loved animals.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of him right now. He just looks like the sweetest kid.
Yeah. And if you guys remember when we covered Amy Mahalovic, we briefly mentioned Jacob Wetterling because he had gone missing like right around the same time as Amy. Like I think Amy went missing October 17th, 1989, and that was in Cleveland. But they were thinking maybe this is some sort of serial predator because October 17th, and then his was October 22nd. So.
I do think I remember them mentioning him in the documentary they put on, was it on Hulu?
On HBO. The Lake Erie Murders. If you guys are looking for a good like series, like true crime series, check out the Lake Erie Murders. It's just murders that, or no, Great
Lakes
is
Murders.
It just Lake Erie? I think it's just Lake Erie. I don't know.
No, I think it is just Lake Erie.
Yeah, Lake Erie Murders. They have 2 episodes on Amy Mahalovic, and then they cover a lot of... Maybe I should look back at that. Maybe we should cover one more of those cases. But anyway, so in 1989, when he went missing, his favorite color was blue. His favorite meal was steak. Love that.
For an 11-year-old? Wow.
Yeah.
What a favorite food.
Hell yeah, dude. And one of his favorite songs was a song called Listen by folk singer Red Grammer. I haven't heard this song, but like the fact that an 11-year-old boy likes folk music is like...
And steak is his favorite food?
The boy's got taste. He's got good taste.
Yeah.
Now, in short, Jacob was a typical 11-year-old boy. He was full of energy. He was full of dreams for when he grows up. And the fact that something so violent and horrific could happen to him, a child just like everyone else's child in the community, in this community where kids roamed freely, it was known to be safe. This was just beyond comprehension for not only his families, but everyone that lived in this area was living in fear after he was taken. Now, when Trevor and Aaron ran for help that day, the emergency response was swift. A neighbor who had been babysitting Jacob's younger sister that night called 911, and Patty and Jerry Wetterling raced home from a dinner party in panic, asking themselves, like, who would take a child?
Yeah.
Who would take our child? And police and volunteers immediately began combing the area for any trace of Jacob. The hunt for Jacob quickly became one of the biggest search missions in Minnesota history. Hundreds of people joined in, some on foot, others on ATVs and horses, and even radio operators and pilots of small private planes offered their help to scan the ground from above. So, like, there's truckers saying, we'll drive around. Like, everybody is looking for this boy. Investigators scoured the abduction site and found a few clues. Now, they saw tire tracks in the mud and shoe imprints on a long gravel driveway leading to a nearby farmhouse. But those traces alone weren't enough to identify the perpetrator. It's like, okay, great. If we can find someone, we could maybe match these things to his car or his shoes, but it doesn't really like give you a good guide on how to find this person. And as the hours turned into days, there was no sign of Jacob or of his abductor. What had happened on that dark road was a complete mystery after the two other boys ran away. Now, Jacob's kidnapping, as you would expect, quickly made national news. It was a rare stranger abduction. Like, normally that does not happen. It's normally someone who knows the child. And it terrified parents everywhere. The notion that a boy could be snatched in front of his brother and friend while doing something as innocent as biking back from the corner store just shook this entire community to its core. Early on, investigators were focused on a specific lead because about 9 months before Jacob's abduction in January of 1989, a 12-year-old boy named Jared Sherrill had been abducted by a man in the nearby town of Cold Spring, and the boy was sexually assaulted before being released by the abductor. So police are thinking that this is probably the same guy. Because one guy operating in the same area, obviously preying on children. These were both two little boys. One was 11, one was 12. It's the same, victim profile.
Yeah.
Now, Jared did survive his ordeal, and he told police that his attacker had threatened him with a gun and then ordered him to run, like, once he was done. He's like, run away and do not look back or I'll shoot you. So this is eerily similar to what the masked man had told Trevor and Aaron the night that Jacob was taken.
Yeah.
So Jared provided authorities with details of the perpetrator's car, his voice, his clothing, and this did help police create a composite sketch of the man. And so he was identified as a man, perhaps in his 40s or 50s, with a deep, raspy voice who claimed to have a gun. There was a sketch, but again, it's like there was nothing super out of the ordinary about this man.
Yeah.
Yet, despite this early lead, because they're like, this has to be the guy, and the massive search, months just go by. There's no answers. They're like, okay, this is the same guy, and I agree with that. I do.
Yeah.
But nothing happens.
I feel like they're too similar.
As the investigation stretched on with few solid clues, the case grew increasingly frustrating. Tips poured in, and officers followed up on sightings and leads across Minnesota and beyond. But every promising lead ended up just being a dead end. One early focus was a neighbor down the road from the Wetterlings, a 34-year-old music teacher named Dan Rossier. And apparently, those same tire tracks and footprints that were found, near where Jacob was taken, were also found on this guy, in this guy's front yard.
Okay.
So
this is the fucking guy?
No, because he had actually been one of the people who, he had, reported seeing a strange car turn around in his driveway at the time of the abduction.
Oh.
So he hears about the abduction and he calls police and says, hey, there's some guy turned around in my driveway. But also that explains the tire tracks, but the footprints. But this guy was on foot at one point, he parked his car elsewhere and then went into, I don't know.
He also could have just gotten out of the car, Are you talking about the footprints were in his driveway?
Yes.
Yeah, so he could have parked, gotten out of the car to do something, and then
possibly
gotten back in and turned around.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, or he could have walked through the yard or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, but years later, everybody's looking at this guy suspect, this Dan, the neighbor, because they're like, well, there's no other suspects. So authorities were eyeing him with suspicion. They searched his farm, and at one point, they did name him officially a person of interest. And because of this, a shadow would hang over him for years until he was finally cleared when the real kidnapper was identified in 2016. Damn. 27 years after Jacob was taken. So for 27 years, people thought that this guy did it. Can you imagine that guy's life?
No, that sucks.
That's why in true crime, as much as, we always have to really try and be respectful of the victims and their families. I think sometimes I hear true crime stories being told, not as much in podcasts, but I see it on TikTok a lot where they'll be like, well, this guy's sus. And it's I just feel like it's wrong. Even though they're allegedly, I think, in my opinion, they're pointing out this, and it's man, if you don't really believe deep down in your soul that you are absolutely sure this person did it. I'm not saying don't bring them up. Like, if they're a part of the story and some math isn't mathing, like, yeah, but like we kind of talked about this with the Ellen Greenberg case. Like, Sam Goldberg, everybody wants to always just point right at, he did it. And it's like, we don't know that that's true. Yeah. I don't believe she killed herself, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you. It was never investigated as a murder. And so it's possible he had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And can you imagine for the rest of your life just being... So I just think we should, as a true crime community, we should all be a little... not be so heavy-handed with the accusations.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Yes, exactly. Now, so they're looking into this neighbor. He is eventually cleared, but not for 27 years. And in reality, the real perpetrator just remained at large pretty much that entire time. And so the community is they're no longer feeling safe. They're no longer feeling secure. And parents who once felt comfortable letting their kids ride their bikes to the store or play outside after dark were now fearful. And so basically one newspaper wrote that Jacob's abduction stole the innocence, is how they put it. And I agree. They stole the innocence of childhood for that entire generation in that area in Minnesota.
Having trouble hearing in work meetings? Eventually you zone out. You've missed too much to catch up now. Get your confidence back with Nuance Audio.
No worries. I just spoke with the sales office, and they assured me the order has already been processed.
The new invisible hearing solution that's built into your glasses. Nuance Audio glasses help you hear better and reduce background noise, so you can tune into your meetings all day long. Learn more at nuanceaudio.com.
This episode is brought to you by Max. The HBO original comedy special, Gerard Carmichael, Don't Be Gay, is now streaming on Max. Emmy-winning comedian Gerard Carmichael returns to the stage in his boldest special yet, bringing his sharp wit, unfiltered honesty, and the kind of vulnerability that's made his voice truly one of a kind. Don't miss Gerard Carmichael, Don't Be Gay. Now streaming on Max.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
Still, the Wetterling family never gave up, and for those 27 years, Patty and Jerry Wetterling kept Jacob's story alive in the public eye. His face appeared on countless missing child posters, milk cartons, billboards, even pizza boxes, and it's just this smiling brown-haired little boy frozen in time. And the question of what happened to Jacob haunted the family and the community. And the case was one of Minnesota's most infamous unsolved mysteries. And I think there's the sense that we get in true crime when we're like, something happened 20 years ago and there's no leads, that is never going to be solved. Yeah. And I think these perpetrators probably have like a sense of security in that, of like, well, I've gotten away with it for 20 years.
20
like,
years,
there's
no way they're coming to get me.
And that's why I like this story, because they fucking get it.
They come get you.
They come get you.
Ooh.
Now, Jacob,
love to see it.
Yeah, I love huzzah. Huzzah to getting him. Jacob's disappearance also led to unprecedented changes in law enforcement and the justice system. So just 4 months after the abduction, Jacob's parents channeled their anguish into action by founding the Jacob Wetterling Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to child safety and abduction prevention. Patty and Jerry became advocates for families of missing children, working tirelessly to push for changes that might prevent others from experiencing the nightmare that they had experienced. And their advocacy, along with growing national concern over child abductions, helped lead to landmark legislation because in 1994, Congress passed the Jacob Wetterling Crimes Against Children Act. And this was a federal law, obviously named in Jacob's honor, which required every U.S. state to establish a sex offender registry for convicted offenders. So this is why we have the sex offender registry.
Damn, I didn't realize that.
And when I was working on the Chanel Miller case, this was brought up in, the history of because Brock Turner is now on the registry list.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I didn't know. I had heard the Jacob story before, but I didn't realize that had anything to do with him. So his parents, this is 5 years after he's taken, and they are changing national law to help save other children. And it's really amazing. Huzzah to them. Now, this was the first law of its kind in the entire country. And basically, what it did is create this system to keep track of released sex offenders so that police and communities would be aware of their whereabouts. Now, in the years that followed, the law was strengthened and expanded by a couple other measures. One was Megan's Law in 1996. And also the Adam Walsh Act in 2006, which ended up these three things together built a nationwide framework for monitoring sex offenders. Because with the Jacob Wetterling Act, it was state by state. And Adam Walsh's parents fought for, no, they want, a lot of kidnappings are taken over state lines. So they want a national database. And that's what that did.
Damn.
And we did cover Adam Walsh's case in a 2-part deep dive. So if you want to hear more about his case, those are episodes 15 and 16. Now, Megan's Law, which I had never heard of before, was enacted in 1996 and is named after 7-year-old Megan Kanka, who was raped and murdered by a convicted sex offender living across the street from her family in New Jersey.
7 years old? Oh, my God.
And this guy had gotten out of prison. He was convicted, oh, my God.
That's crazy that has not always been a thing like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
that's
this is 1996. That's not that long ago. I was born in 96. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, this law basically requires law enforcement to make information about registered sex offenders available to the public. So before this, they had this registry that started in 1994, but it was, for the police to know about. And now you can go, there are websites, I don't know what they are, where you can go online and you can see the sex offenders living in your area. And it's scary.
Damn.
It's scary.
I should probably check that.
Now, there is you have to keep in mind, don't just go, putting signs in their front. Don't go harass. Some of these people are people who peed outside or something.
Yeah.
I think most of them are probably actual full on predators, but I don't know. We don't need vigilante justice.
No.
I'm against vigilante justice.
Yeah, this is a resource, so you just are aware, and you don't.
It's so you can protect your family and your children, not so you can go punish someone how you see fit. That's not your job. That's the criminal justice system's job, and I know it doesn't work perfectly, but leave them to it. Now, these reforms, born directly out of the tragedy in St. Joseph, have been credited with improving child safety and investigative tactics around the country, and obviously true. We talked about this in Adam's case, all of the issues that popped up, and things obviously operate a lot more smoothly now in these cases. Meanwhile, while all of this is going on, Patty Wetterling herself became a nationally known voice on child protection issues. She traveled the country to speak, she served on committees, and she even testified before Congress, all while holding on to the hope that her own son might still be found one day. In 1998, the Wetterling Foundation launched a program called Team Hope to support the families of missing children. And in 2008, the organization was renamed the Jacob Wetterling Resource Center. And the Resource Center continues to educate the public about, quote, who takes children, how they do it, and what each of us can do to stop it, end quote. That's according to their website. Over the years, the Wetterlings' relentless advocacy has helped spread lessons about prevention and response to child abductions. And Jacob's legacy thus lives on not only in law books and in the court system, but in the lives saved and the children protected by his parents' efforts. Huzzah to Patty Wetterling.
Literally.
This is one badass motherfucker. And she
One badass mother.
one badass mother.
Yeah.
And she has made every single one of you out there with children, or like me and Emily with nieces or nephews, like she has helped protect those kids. So everyone say a little quiet thank you to Patty Wetterling, or a loud one. Post it on social media.
Send it to the stars.
Yeah. Now, a bridge over the Mississippi River near St. Cloud was even named the Bridge of Hope after, in Jacob's honor, because they had the Team Hope project.
Yeah.
And this was meant to be a symbol of hope for his family that hoped, he might come home one day.
Yeah.
But like I said, for almost 27 years, his fate remained unknown. By the mid-2010s, a new generation of investigators began taking a hard look at the cold case. They wanted to fucking solve this.
Yeah.
They were determined to find answers. In 2014, the FBI's Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team, which is also known as CARD, and that's what I'm going to stick with because that's a long name, they conducted a complete review of the Wetterling investigation, and they focused attention on a man who had been this person of interest since 1989. Which was a man by the name of Danny James Heinrich.
Uh-oh. We know somebody.
We know Heinrich. We know Heinrichs, plural. Now, Heinrich, a resident of the nearby town of Paynesville, had actually been questioned within months of Jacob's abduction. Back in 1990, investigators had noticed that Heinrich's shoes and car tires seemed to resemble the footprints and tire tracks left at the scene, and they collected hair samples from him at that time. So these footprints and these tire tracks very early on, like this is 1990, the year after he was taken, did lead to this guy being a person of interest. But they couldn't do much with it. Heinrich denied having any involvement, and with no direct evidence tying him to the crime, authorities had no choice but to let him go. They could not file charges. And on top of that, he was one of several suspects who hovered on the fringes of the case for years. So, there were other people who looked just as good as he did for this, but none of them looked great for it. And just over the years, though, as they kept going back to this case, Heinrich's name kept resurfacing. And the Wetterlings knew of him only as, this uncomfortable, unresolved question mark in their search for Jacob. Could this be the man who took their son? Then a breakthrough came, thanks to advances in DNA technology. In 2015, nearly 26 years after that Jared boy, remember there was the 12-year-old boy who, in January before Jacob was taken, he was also abducted. Right? Yes, and he was let go. So 26 years after Jared's abducted, investigators retested evidence from Jared's 1989 case, and they got a hit. DNA from Jared's sweatshirt, preserved for all of those years, was matched to a sample of Danny Heinrich's hair that police had taken in 1990 and stored from the original investigation.
Oh, shit.
But also, why did it take them so long to test it? Because, DNA was DNAing.
Way before 2014.
Yeah. I think it was, it started... They started playing with it in the 80s, but it wasn't used in court systems. And in the 90s, it was iffy, and it gets better. But so I know a lot of it is funding. And I know that Ashley Flowers has a Season of Justice is the name of it. It's like a nonprofit where basically they fund DNA testing in cold cases. Amazing.
Literally.
Huzzah to Ashley Flowers. Yeah. I see people hate on Ashley Flowers online. I'm like, no.
For what?
Because there was a little bit of a scandal of not citing sources properly, but it's she didn't mean to. She's a good person.
It happens to the best of us, dude. But also, give her a fucking break.
Give her a break.
She's doing great things.
Season of Justice is amazing what they're doing. We made a donation to DNA Solves, but we'll make a donation to Season of Justice and link it in case you guys got a few bucks that you can donate. So basically, this sample of Danny Heinrich's hair matching Jared's case, this was the conclusive link that had eluded detectives in the 80s and 90s. And armed with this new evidence, authorities in October 2015 obtained a search warrant for Heinrich's house in Annandale, Minnesota. And during that search, they discovered Heinrich was hoarding a large collection of child pornography. Now, I see this debate online about we shouldn't call it child pornography because pornography implies that it's done willingly, and obviously children are not they literally can't do anything willingly. And so people say you should call it child sexual abuse material. I understand that sentiment, and I think that's a good sentiment, but in like when people are charged with charges, they're charged with child pornography. So just wanted to explain why I chose to use that wording.
It's technical.
Yes. So he's hoarding this large collection of child sexual abuse material / child pornography. And Heinrich was promptly arrested on federal child pornography charges on October 28th, 2015. And officials publicly named him as a person of interest in Jacob Wetterling's disappearance at the same time. He literally said the same thing to the boys. Like, case closed, in my opinion. There's no reasonable doubt in my mind. I would vote guilty if I was on that jury.
Same.
Just saying.
Same.
And basically, it was just this stunning development after decades of dead ends. And people kind of felt like this case would never be solved.
Your burger is served. And this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
Yet the man long suspected of being Jacob's abductor was finally in custody. He had been on police's radar since 1990. And still, prosecutors faced a challenge. The evidence tying Heinrich to Jacob was strong but circumstantial, and the statute of limitations for the sexual assault of Jared had long expired. So they couldn't charge him with what he had done to the other little boy. And we literally just talked about this in the episode we recorded right before this. Like, I know the statute of limitations is like meant to protect us as a people, but like sometimes I'm like, really?
But
there
also,
should not be.
Right. Get this man off the fucking streets.
Yeah. Yeah. So in 2016, basically they were worried like they weren't going to be able to get a conviction. Like they were worried if they put him on trial that he might go free, and you can't put him on trial twice for the same crime. So
what is that called?
Double jeopardy.
Nice.
So in 2016, a deal was struck with him because they were more concerned at this point about getting the full truth of what had happened to Jacob. His family wanted to know what had happened and where he was. So on September 6, 2016, Danny Heinrich agreed to this plea bargain, and it's controversial, but basically what it was going to do is give the Wetterling family answers that they had been seeking in exchange for a lighter sentence for Danny Heinrich. In a packed Minneapolis courtroom with Patty and Jerry Wetterling present, Heinrich stood up in front of the courtroom, and he basically had to do this in order to get the plea bargain. But he stands up and he confesses in chilling detail to abducting and murdering Jacob Wetterling. And as a part of the plea, Heinrich admitted guilt on one count of possessing child pornography, and in exchange, prosecutors agreed not to charge him with Jacob's murder at all. Yeah. I don't like that.
No.
But basically, this was done because he was going to then tell them where Jacob was.
Yeah.
I don't love it, but I think they did what they had to do. I think it sounds like, but I don't love it.
No.
Now, Heinrich then led investigators to a remote plot of farmland outside Paynesville, about 30 miles from the Wetterlings' home. And there, buried in a pasture, were the remains of Jacob. Dental records and DNA tests confirmed the remains to be Jacob's later on. And finally, the decades-long search for him had ended.
That's crazy.
The date that his remains were discovered was September 1st, 2016. Almost pretty much like 26 years and 11 months after Jacob was taken. And the following week, the world learned the tragic truth of Jacob's final moments directly from the man who took him. In court, Heinrich recounted the night of October 22nd, 1989, and the details left those in the courtroom in agony, in tears, just distraught. He described how after he confronted the boys and drove off with Jacob, he brought the frightened 11-year-old boy to a gravel pit on the outskirts of Paynesville. There, Heinrich forced Jacob out of the car. He admitted that he molested the boy in that dark, secluded spot. Jacob, shivering and scared, told Heinrich that he was cold, so Heinrich let him get dressed again. The boy then asked, quote, "Are you taking me home now?" End quote. But Heinrich said no.
Oh.
When Jacob began to cry, Heinrich told him, "Don't cry," because he was worried about the noise. And right at that moment, as Jacob's crying, Heinrich heard a patrol car in the distance, sirens blaring as police were already out searching for Jacob.
Oh.
They were so close to finding this boy alive.
He could literally hear the sirens.
He could hear the sirens. And so he was crying and making noise. And Heinrich just begins panicking. He's panicked because he can tell that the authorities are closing in.
Yeah.
And so he decides to kill Jacob to silence him.
Oh my God.
Which is just, I can't imagine being his parents knowing that they were so close to finding him alive.
Yeah.
That night. That was that night. So Heinrich says that he loaded his Smith & Wesson revolver with 2 bullets. He told Jacob to turn around, and then he pulled the trigger. The first shot misfired, but the second bullet hit Jacob in the head, killing him instantly. So, I mean, at least he wasn't
at least he didn't suffer, I guess, as he died. But
yeah, he suffered before
it. Was like a quick,
though.
it was like a quick death, I guess. But damn.
Heinrich then dragged Jacob's lifeless body a short distance and hastily buried him in a shallow grave near a cluster of trees. He admitted that about a year later, he did return to that gravesite, and seeing that Jacob's jacket and some bones were becoming exposed to the elements, he dug up what he could and placed Jacob's remains in a bag and moved them across the road to a better hidden location where they stayed until 2016.
Oh my God.
So the remains were exposed.
So was that the last time that he did anything? Do we know?
That we know of.
Because that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that we know of. And obviously he was responsible for what happened to Jared, which is heartbreaking. Now, as Heinrich calmly spoke these words in court, many of Jacob's family members openly wept. Patty Wetterling would later say that hearing the truth was absolutely devastating, saying, quote, "It's incredibly painful to know his last days, last hours, last minutes. To us, Jacob was alive until we found him," end quote.
Aww.
Which is just heartbreaking. The hope that they had kills me. Heinrich's courtroom confession brought an end to one of the most infamous child abduction cases in American history. And under the plea agreement, 53-year-old Heinrich could not be prosecuted for the murder or kidnapping, crimes which, without the deal, could have potentially put him away for life. Instead, he pleaded guilty to a single count of having child pornography, basically, for which he received the maximum sentence of 20 years in federal prison. Good. And he was only 53. So, maximum, he will be 73 when he gets out. I actually fucking hate that so much. I'm really glad that they were able to find Jacob and give his family some answers.
Well, yeah, and figure out who fucking did it.
But I really fucking hate this plea deal. I don't know. I assume that they had to do it or they weren't going to get those answers. I don't know, but it's so fucked.
That's crazy.
Now, at the sentencing hearing in November 2016, U.S. District Judge John Tunheim made it clear that everyone understood the true gravity of what Heinrich had done, saying, quote, "We won't pretend that this crime and sentence is about child pornography. It is also about changing the lives of so many children and parents who prayed for Jacob's return and also feared you coming out of the dark. Every child knows the story of Jacob Wetterling. You stole the innocence of children in small towns, in the cities of Minnesota and beyond," end quote. And I like that the judge addressed that. He's like, let's not play house here. Let's say what's really happening here.
Yeah.
And basically in court, he just tells Heinrich that given the heinous nature of his crimes, it was unlikely that society would ever let him go free. And indeed, even after Heinrich's prison term, authorities have said that they intend to have him civilly committed as a sexual predator, meaning that he'll likely spend the rest of his life either behind bars for the first 20 years and then in a secure treatment facility. So it is unlikely that he'll ever just be walking free again.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather him be in prison than a facility.
Right.
That's just me.
Yeah.
But at least he won't be walking free because that would be horrific.
Right.
Now, for the Wetterling family, the discovery of Jacob's fate, it was bittersweet relief. They finally had answers and they could bring Jacob home and give him a proper burial. And of this, Patty Wetterling basically tells the public, quote, "It's not the ending we wanted, but Jacob is home," end quote. The community of St. Joseph gathered to mourn the loss of the boy that they had held in their hearts for 27 years, leaving blue ribbons and lighting porch lights in Jacob's memory. Jacob's story is a heartbreaking one, but it also became a story of hope, of resilience, and of positive change for children all over America. His name has become synonymous with efforts to make the world safer for children. And because of Jacob, laws were changed, institutions were built, and parents everywhere became more vigilant. His family, despite their grief, chose to, quote, "live a legacy of love," end quote, encouraging communities to remember Jacob by being kind, by being fair, and by protecting the innocent.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Meta AI is the personal AI that's tailored to you, now with its very own app. It's built to get to know you, offering helpful answers and inspiration. Looking for something to add to your bucket list? Meta AI goes beyond traveling the world. It remembers you're a basketball fanatic and suggests you attend one of the playoff games. Just start typing or speaking to get the answers you need, wherever and whenever, because Meta AI is your personal AI. Download the Meta AI app, now available on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss. Oof, like winding your hair carefree. Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree. Yes! Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree. He's on a roll now. Spit toothpaste on the faucet. You got it. You got it. Peanut butter on the light switch. Oh, spritz, spritz. Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back. Use as directed.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Decades after Jacob's abduction, his older sister Amy said, quote, "Jacob inspires us every day. He believed in a fair and just world, a world where all children know they are special and deserve to be safe," end quote. And through these words and through the ongoing work of the Wetterling family, because they are still at it today, and just the Jacob Wetterling Resource Center in general, because this is not just the Wetterling family anymore. This is a team of people.
Yeah.
And through them, Jacob's light continues to shine. And in remembering Jacob Wetterling, the bright, athletic, sweet, kind, fun little boy who never made it home that night. We remember not only a tragic loss of innocence, but a legacy of hope that has made countless other children safer in his name. So huzzah to Patty and Jerry Wetterling and everyone who works for the Resource Center, because...
Yeah. Doing great work.
Doing great work. And that is the story of how the sex offender registry came to be in the United States of America.
That's crazy. I didn't know about that. That's
didn't
very
either.
interesting.
You guys know I'm always like telling you, I've been so deep in true crime for so long. I hadn't really heard the story before. And I think one of our listeners, a couple people had requested this like in DMs.
Yeah.
And so I kept hearing the name and I recognized it from the Amy Mahalovic case.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that it come up again when I was reading about the registry, I was like, oh, it's time. We must cover it.
Yeah. No, I've definitely heard his name before, but I didn't know anything like other than that.
I tried to control myself this time, like make it one part, but now I'm looking and I'm like, this is our shortest episode ever. I feel like people are going to be disappointed. All right. Note to self. Don't control self so much.
Less control.
Less self-control. I have to find a happy medium. But yeah, it's a sad, sad story. If you guys have any other, I'd like to cover some more international cases. I feel like we do so many American cases.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any like international, especially our international listeners, if you have some suggestions, throw it in the comments. It's always best if submit it on our website actually is the best way. If you go to atrialbypodcast.com, there's like a contact us page and then you can submit a case request there. That is the easiest way for me to keep track of it. And that is the most likely way for us to cover a case that you guys are requesting. Because in the DMs, they all get lost. Like there's too many. People always apologize. Like they'll send me one in a DM. They'll be like, oh shit, sorry. I just, 10 days later, they're like, wait, I just heard you say it in an episode. It's okay if you send it in a DM. Like I'm not upset about it or anything. We
just get a lot of them.
It's just, I get lost in them. So I'm just letting you know, like I can keep the emails organized better. But yeah, any like international cases that you guys think are interesting, you want to hear, or any, especially like ones that change laws like this in your country, I think would be really interesting for us to learn about as like people who aren't from there. Right. So, but yeah, I think if you guys, we've been playing the catch up game, we've never caught up. So I've been trying to stick to one parters, but I think we're going to like deep dive into something. I'm in the mood for a two-parter.
Ooh.
I'm in the mood for a two-parter. Maybe a four-parter.
I love four-parter. I do love me a two-parter.
Yeah. Oh, I will say like one of my favorite cases we did was Dan Markel. We did the 4-part deep dive.
That was a good one.
I love deep diving. I love deep diving, but I also like, it is a lot of extra work for us to like make bonus episodes, because like I spend just as much time on those.
Yeah.
And I hate to like, I wouldn't want to do a whole month on one case.
Yeah.
But like there's a couple cases I want to do. Like one I want to do really bad is Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka in Canada. It is one of the most fucked up stories I've ever heard. But I'm like, I have to do 5 parts on it.
Damn.
And so I got to get to a point in life where I have more time to do that first. But yeah.
We'll get there.
Anything else you wanted to say, or like, how are you feeling? Just because we're only at 47 minutes, I feel like people are going to be disappointed in us. And then when we cut stuff out, it's only going to be like 40 minutes.
I have nothing.
Fuck. Okay.
I got nothing. I got no sustenance. All I got in me is water. So my brain is not braining.
Emily closed out the bar last night, so she's struggle busing.
Yeah, hardcore.
But she sat through 2 epis. So.
I did, and I'm going to go home and eat my leftover Mexican food.
You know what I did on my way? So every Saturday night, I sleep on Emily's couch. Because she lives where we hang out with our friends, and we're responsible, and we Uber home. We do not drive.
Right.
So I sleep on Emily's couch every Saturday, and then I drive home Sunday, and then Emily comes over
It's our whole
Sunday afternoon.
weekend routine.
Yeah, it is our routine. We do have a routine.
I do need to like I have a spare bedroom and it's a mess, but I need to like get like a futon or something.
It used to be my bedroom.
Yeah.
It
could be your weekend bedroom.
Yeah, it is my weekend room. I'll pay you like a 1/7 of the rent that I used to pay you.
I'll be your divorced parent that you come over and stay at my house on the weekends.
Emily has partial custody of me. We have to do a special episode for the 1-year anniversary week.
Oh, yeah.
It can't be one of the ones that we've done. We got to record it next weekend. I got to think of a good one.
That's fine.
Maybe we'll start a deep dive of the 1-year anniversary week.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said,
I hope everyone has amazing
short.
weeks.
I feel like you guys are going to be disappointed in me. I know you guys like the deep dives.
I don't think it's that short. I think usually they're about an hour, aren't they?
I feel like they're usually like an hour and a half.
Yeah, sometimes.
Some people are going to like the short one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, court is adjourned. Bye. Now, if you guys love the pod, make sure you're following us wherever you're listening so you don't miss out on any future episodes.
And while you're at it, we'd be forever in your debt if you had left us a 5-star rating.
For more content from us, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Both are at A Trial by Podcast.
You can also follow us on our Facebook and join our Facebook group.
You can shop our merch by clicking the link in the show notes or visiting our website, atrialbypodcast.com.
A Trial by Podcast is a fully independent podcast. If you'd like to help support us, you can do so by donating through the link in our show notes.
The site we use for this is called Buy Me a Coffee, but don't worry, your donations will never be used for coffee or frivolous things, only for expenses related to running and growing the podcast. So thank you guys for your support.
Thank y'all. Huzzah.
Huzzah.